Hey everybody, this is Perch and Joe. Good to see you again.
Yes, I'm here again, and it hasn't been like 6 months or whatever. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. Where it's like we're getting back in track. How have you been? Where have you been?
What was it? I got back from Baltimore Comic Con not that long ago.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. I got to see a bunch of people that I love seeing at that show. Got to catch up with John Workman, which is always a pleasure. I got to meet Tom Brevoort. I'd never met Tom
Mm.
before. And I even got to see him and Wheezy on the X-Men panel.
Oh, very
Uh,
nice.
yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. I love Wheezy. I got to chat with Wheezy a bit after that. But yeah, it was a good time.
Okay. And I think Marvel still has they're on their 28th X-Men book, so they probably need a couple more to get to their goal of 30 a month. And that's an end now you have there. You can get Tom to set you up.
Sure. I mean, he did reiterate on the panel how X-Men and Uncanny 18 issues a month,
A
and
month.
not a month, but it feels that way, right?
It
But
does feel a little that way, yeah.
18 a year, and so they have the two artists, but it really should be three. That's we were joking about that on the it's got to be three soon. But
Yeah.
no, it was it was that was a fun time. I got to go out to dinner.
No, go ahead. Tell us about dinner
I,
first.
I was going to say
That's
I
what
got
I'm
to go out to
looking for.
dinner with like Martha Thomas's, Richard Case, Mark Wheatley, Mark Hempel. It was a good time.
Okay. Yeah, those
We
are
went
some
to an
good people.
Italian restaurant that we like. Yeah, it's good.
We love Martha around here, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, what I was going to ask you, well, first thing before I get there, so anybody come up to you and say, "Oh, thank goodness you're back on the show."
There wasn't too much at this show, but I was at Rose City uh, a few weeks ago, and it was every day.
Well, Portland loves this show for sure.
It was every day at that show because that was because the video that I was
You
back
just been
on
on.
was so I had just been on. So like
Yeah,
I was there were a couple of times I was talking and someone turned around and was like, You're Joe on the Perch show. And like that kind
that's
of
crazy.
stuff. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, we there's an interview coming up with Dave Dorman, and he's like, yeah, I've listened to the show. It's weird to me, but no, what I was
Yeah,
actually going
but
to ask you, patting on the backside, did I miss the announcement that they were going to do X-Men every 18 months or 18 once every 18 months is the opposite? That would be
not
now
none of us
that's what we want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. We're all bad at math tonight and
Yes.
time, but whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I I feel like that was announced early on that
Was it?
it was
Okay.
good, but I think that kind of went under the radar and no one really talked about that. But that's also why like X-Men for whatever reason seemed to be having like issues before like issue 2. Like
Yeah.
Ginny came like, and that's part of like, oh well, it's going to be like in a year, in a 12-month span, we're going to get 18 issues of both of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's a genius move, but anyway, I'm glad to talk. Good that we're talking about the X-Men. So I wanted to get you back on. Lots of things to talk about. So we'll come on, record a bunch of videos. We'll do another thing where we record like 3 at once, and by that third one, we're super punchy and crazy. And Sasha still would like to do the bad pitches with you at some point. We should get her and the three of us. That'd be fun.
I would absolutely love to do that. I have so many horrible pitches. You know what I think would also be good is if we do that with her with like
Mm-hmm.
bad pitches that could be like creator owned pitches, because I feel like we go after the big two a lot, but like a lot of indie stuff blows, and I think it's not fair. I don't think it's it's not fair that we just keep picking on these bigger companies when a lot of people that are trying to just put a story they've had in them their whole lives out into the world kind of blow.
Well, we got to make sure. Sasha's gotten, I mean, her channel rocks, but she's also gotten a lot more popular. So we'll have to make sure she's still interested in doing, slumming it with me. You're always good, but we'll see.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, but somebody wrote in a mail, and I answer a mail on this channel when I'm out of ideas, which is most of the time. But
I've
this one
noticed.
mentions
Yeah.
you, so
Ooh.
you ready for this?
I don't know, but sure.
Yeah. Hope you survive the experience. All right.
That's from
Okay.
the X-Men.
It is. It is. All right. This is going to test kind of your knowledge here. It says, hello, Perch. I was hoping Joe could help answer this question. It was great hearing him on the show. And I know I know both of you are big fans of the X-Men, and I believe you've read every issue. Mostly, right?
You've read more than me, but I have read quite a lot, yes.
Okay. All right. Now you may be wondering where this mail is going. Let's the viewers
sure am.
See your face, but here we go. According to the X-Men writers, the Krakoa era is the horniest era of the X-Men. What will the next sentence be? All right.
I am at the edge of my seat here.
But generally, we saw a lot of them hanging out at Blob's bar and occasional cuddling. But given Nightcrawler said at the beginning of the run, make more mutants, were any children actually created? Because I'm pretty sure he meant fucking. So,
first we did find out that Nightcrawler apparently went to a lot of furry conventions.
We did, yes. That's right.
So,
that was in that era.
But yeah.
You remember this, though, right? It was in Hickman's run. This was House of X, was number 6. I think they came out all naked, or I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't that moment. In that comic, they're coming up with their laws of Krakoa, and one of them was make more mutants, and he was grinning like he was going to stick his tail somewhere. He meant procreate.
Yeah.
But the writer here, I think, is right. Actually, were there any births on this island? Like, do we see any children at all? Like, or pregnancies or anything?
No, I don't think in the current. Obviously, we got the flashback to Destiny giving birth to Nightcrawler, but flashback. But no, I mean,
he followed that law.
No, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't know if you may have touched on this in any of your videos, or if any of the people listening to this have thought of this before. But like, there seem to be a handful of logic holes in that era.
A couple, just a couple.
So I think that falls into one of those. But there's also this, like, I don't know, if everyone's immortal, which was basically set up in the beginning,
right?
Why would it be more important to have children? And also, because of how being a mutant works, there's a very large potential that 2 mutants having a child doesn't equal a mutant child.
Right. We don't know, right? It's random.
So
we did do that storyline a long time ago in X Factor.
Yeah, but so it's a weird rule that makes no sense, that contradicts all of the knowledge that Nightcrawler, and frankly everyone listening to him, knew.
Sure. You're right. You're right.
So I feel like that was a weird thing to say, and maybe that's why it didn't happen.
Yeah, okay. I can go along with that. But it was striking that the idea was a mutant nation of their own. I mean, they got their own planet. In theory, they're going to need to breed. Maybe. I mean, you could just be immortal forever, but you think, if for no other reason than to create IP, you need to breed.
Sure.
But anyway, I don't think we ever saw any actual fulfillment of that. But anyway, the mail asks one last question.
Sure.
But we haven't gotten to the end yet.
Ooh.
In your In your opinion, Joe, was Krakoa the horniest era, or is there another era that is even hornier?
Hmm. I mean, if we're talking about like, it all depends on the definition of horny for this,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah,
like what the rules are that we're setting up, because I feel
true.
like a lot of people would probably say something along the lines of, I don't know, the late 80s, early 90s they were drawn in a way that, um, let's say, inspired a generation of young men, I think.
Fair enough. Well,
So, yeah.
I'm taking this to mean in comics, though. So in the team, but I think my answer would be the same. I think that if you think back to that late '80s, early '90s time period. For one thing, you had the New Mutants living in the mansion with the X-Men, or in that '80s time period.
Yeah.
And there were multiple issues where, like, Doug Ramsey would find himself naked with a variety of characters.
Yes.
And it was always funny because Doug was like, he's a nerd. He doesn't have any powers. But he shows up completely naked with Betsy, and then with Rain on different times, with Kitty. So there was he got several, and the mutants were often finding themselves naked. Like Mojo would do something to give them some kind of crazy adventure, and then they'd come back to the mansion and they'd be just bare ass naked every time.
Yeah.
I have to believe that led to some horny there.
Yeah, and I feel like there were, I know, I feel like we actively saw Wolverine sleep around,
He did. Yeah.
then, and you don't really see that anymore.
That's true. That was a period where he was, I mean, they would imply it with Jean, but definitely Storm, a variety of Japanese women,
Yes.
Native Americans. He went through plenty. Villains at times. The other one is, friend of the show, Joe Casey, had a character who was an actual prostitute join the team.
Yes.
And
Stacey X.
got a lot of Stacey X. That also
Steve Fox brought back. As we all. Yeah.
So glad he did that. But so those there, that it seems like a hornier time inside the X-Men, and
Sure. Well, and Chuck Austin with that Juggernaut She-Hulk stuff. That was
that's right. And Angel and Bobby's sister.
Yeah, that the shoes falling on. Oh, that was
on Mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't that the same. You also had Polaris with a variety of characters, Havoc, Iceman. She went through a few more too, didn't she?
Yeah, but like, and now that you're saying that, I mean, also like Nurse Annie was getting it, right?
True, she was with we can't. How can we forget about Nurse Annie?
Yeah, everyone's favorite. Where was Nurse Annie and her son? Were they? I think as far as we know, that they were never invited to Krakoa.
That's true. We have not seen either of them in Krakoa.
Yeah,
I don't know. I may have missed a storyline or two there, but if it feels to me, that's my. I would say that, but I guess that crosses over to early 2000s. So really, that run of X-Men, I think you had the Claremont horny period, and then you had the the Chuck Austin, Joe Casey period. I think that was a second horny period. But this Krakoa era, not that horny, is my thought.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you on that entirely. I mean, and we're also completely, bypassing the fact that like all the Morlocks are just fucking each other, right? Like,
oh yeah, they have to be. Yeah. I mean, you go down into the sewers; they've all got bondage gear on. I mean, first of all, not cheap.
No.
Second, if you're living in a sewer, there's stuff that's going to get under those like ball gags. It's not going to be hygienic. So you got to feel that for an orgy.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I mean, that's all happening. Yeah, I mean, even a bit after that, like I feel like even Peter David's X Factor Investigations run was hornier.
Yeah, I would say so. You got Richter Shatterstar. You had Siren with several people. You had Jamie and I know things,
Layla
girl.
Miller.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Layla.
Layla.
Yeah, that was sad of me there.
That's fine.
Yeah, but in the current run, or in that, I guess it's not current anymore. In the Krakoa run, it actually got me thinking: how many relationships did we actually see? You have Betsy and Rachel that came right at the end.
Yeah.
You had Mystique and Destiny.
Yep.
You had Scott and Jean, sort of. Every now and then they touch on that, and maybe Logan was involved in that. But
Yeah, but like, I mean, yeah, like the Mystique and Destiny were in like the last like third of that run. She
yeah,
was dead for most of it.
true. But beyond that, like there was a remarkable lack of kind of relationships. There was very little hooking up in that entire series. Every now and then they'd have like two bit characters hook up, and that was but in general, a remarkable amount of celibacy.
Well, the weird thing too with that is, what was it? You had, what was it? Leah Williams X Factor, like Richter and Shatterstar were like broken up, so like
Right.
there were less people
Yeah.
having sex in that run, and then there was the God, why am I blanking on it? Because it was horrible. The book after that she did, that miniseries with all the girls and the Are You Gonna Pee Your
Oh, I was going to
Pants?
say the trial of Magneto, but no, it was the other one. It
No,
was
no,
the
no.
the grindhouse style one that was different.
Yeah, there was like no sex in that,
No.
really. Which
No, if you
ones?
think about it, there's just very, if you got to go through them all, you had Hickman's run, which never really touched. I mean, the biggest relationship you had there was the idea that Krakoa, the island, and Araku were having island sex at some point.
Yeah, Exterminators. That's what it was called.
Yeah, how could we forget that? Yeah,
yeah, I know. But no, like that was, yeah. So there's no real
the sword
sex
issue by Ewing had really nothing. The
no.
Storm on Mars didn't have anything. You had Vita's New Mutants had a little. You had kind of like hinting that there was a relationship somewhere around the corner, but they didn't really do much there.
Yeah.
X Force didn't really get into anything. Well, you had Quentin Quire and Phoebe, sort of.
That sucks. I mean, that sucks.
Right?
But yeah,
But
I'm not.
Colossus himself went through several women. A Nightcrawler during the 80s was incredibly horny all the time.
Yeah, but like Colossus was like weirdly like despite the fact that he's so beloved, I think he's like he's a real solid guy. But
I see what you did there.
He was kind of taken off the board for like a while. In Goa. And yeah, but like I don't know, since Quentin came up, I also have to mention one thing that's always really bothered me. I may have mentioned this in a stream before or something like that, but it's worth repeating.
Always, yeah.
In Grant's run, the initial run with Quentin Quire,
right?
Quentin's personality changed. Like the actual real Quentin was a different person. He had been corrupted. That's why he did the whole thing with the pink hair and like changing, and his personality changed. He wasn't actually like that. Something happened to him. He snapped, and they never like unsnapped him. Like,
yeah, no, his personality became that when he got addicted to kick.
Yeah,
and he snapped through the events that were going on in the title at the time. And then he became a vegetable, basically.
Yeah.
And then he became not a vegetable, but he kept the dick personality.
Yeah, which makes no sense. I feel like it's just been it's a bad read on the character from everyone who's sort of tackled him since then. Like Grant had this different idea for a character, and people, which is weird because there's so many, and I understand it. We talked about it with Larry on this program.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of reverence for this run. I think, understandably, I think, but at the same time, so many people are like, we're really inspired by this run, but also forget the original intent. We want to do this with these cat, which is weird to me.
I don't think people read the final couple arcs of Grant's run. It feels like they got to the when Cyclops and Phantomax and Wolverine went off to the world. That storyline, Chris Bachalo was right. I don't think people read that part, and I think they kind of jumped off, because if you look at all the storylines, you get Quentin as if none of this happened to him after. You get the Cuckoos were like morally corrupt by the end of that series, and they kind of washed that aside. Even the writer that came immediately after that with they kind of immediately erasing what was going on with Magneto. They kind of the various things. I'm convinced most people didn't finish Grant's run. They got, poor little Tykes got tired out, and then they just started writing comics. But anyway, that was not Grant's run was not a very horny run either, for that matter.
No, I mean Emma's costume was, but
found Emma. That's basically what we got.
Yeah, and like with hornier than some of the stuff we've touched on here, potentially more so than Krakoa even, but yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was like an overtly overly horny run.
Well, it's interesting to think about. I just it struck me this mail is obviously insane, but I did start thinking about when I read it of there was actually very few relationships in the Krakoa run. There was actually like most of the characters were. I mean, so many videos and commentaries where it's so gay, but it wasn't. I mean, they would announce a character is gay, but there wouldn't be any relationships with it. The character was there was nothing that there's nothing to it. They actually were very one dimensional in terms of any relationships in that run.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I think the concept of it works more as like an MMORPG.
Yeah.
And they should have been working on that, and that should have come out before that ended, because I think it's kind of perfect for that.
Yeah.
But as a comic that you have to spend, at the time it was coming out, anywhere from $4 to $8 on a single book. And in some cases, I think like when we talked about this years ago now, like, if you wanted to follow 10 of Swords, it was like, if you're paying full retail for the floppies, it's, it was like, it was at least 100 just to follow the event.
That's true. 23 odd issues. Yeah. I mean, I remember I tallied it up at one point. It was crazy. But
yeah, I think it was slightly over. Like it might have been like 110 or something like that. But it was, and that's a lot to ask for a like that. Whereas like an MMORPG, a monthly, you would be spending, I don't know, like, $10, $15 or whatever a month to play something like that after an initial payment, and you'd probably get more out of that. I would think.
I think, some of these storylines, that's really what it should have been. Yeah. Hey, I found it. It was 26 comics for 10 of Swords at a retail price of $111.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's a lot for one event. One event that doesn't cross into non-X books. That's a lot.
And even in that one, Doug got some. So I think what establishes Doug is actually the biggest player in the X-Men universe. Anyway, well, Joe, listen, thank you very much for an insane mail. And next time we'll have to come back and talk about which era of the Justice League is horniest.
Yeah, no, that won't be hard. It's not when they were in Detroit.
No. Well, Joe, thank you very much, and let's do this again like tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? Yeah.
Life is a highway, I wanna ride.